Sometimes it can feel like being a Christian is just about following a bunch of rules. In fact, in the Old Testament, God gave his people 613 different commandments to follow. 613. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I find it hard to follow even the most basic instructions. Now, if you think back to what we've learnt in Kids Church in the past, you might remember when we learnt about God giving his people the 10 Commandments. He gave these 10 Commandments to his chosen man. This was a man starting with the letter M. I wonder if you can remember who he was. That's right, Moses. God gave the 10 Commandments to Moses, and these were 10 rules for how he wanted his people to live and how they could live well for his glory. But the thing was, even 10 was too much, and his people failed to live up to the standards. Even his chosen man Moses messed up. And the reality is, we all know that we've all sinned and fallen short of God's standard. We do things every day that are different to what God wants of us. But we know that this is why he sent his son, Jesus. Because he loves us so much, he sent Jesus to die so that we could be in friendship with God, even though we've failed to keep all of these commands. Now, back in the story about Moses, we learned that these were the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments were: put God first, have no other gods, respect God's name, respect God's day of rest or the Sabbath day, respect your parents, don't kill people, respect marriage, do not steal, do not lie, and do not be jealous. These can be hard things to do. Now, we've learnt that Jesus died for us so that we can be in friendship with God, even though we can't live up to his standard. So what then are we called to do? Well, our friend in the passage today had exactly the same question. This guy went to Jesus and he asked, which of the commandments is the greatest one? Which is the one that I really, really have to follow? And Jesus says this: firstly, love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, and with all of your strength. And secondly, love your neighbour as yourself. And he says there are no commandments that are greater than these. So he clears it up for us. He says, love the Lord your God and love others. And this is a pretty good way for us to check if we're living God's way. Is what we're doing and thinking and serving and loving God above all else? And are we loving other people in the same way that we love to serve ourselves? Now, what I think is pretty awesome is the 10 Commandments that God gave to Moses actually fit into these two categories. That's why I've put them on different colours pieces of paper. The first 4 commandments are all about loving God. And the second 6 commandments are all about loving other people. And if we use those framework commandments, loving God and loving others, it helps us to know how to live our lives. Now, in our second reading today from Deuteronomy 6, it says to take these commandments and to put them on your heart and to impress them on our children, to talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, and when you lie down and when you get up, to tie them as symbols on your hands and to bind them on your foreheads and to write them on your door frames and on your gates. And to help us to do this and to remember what we've learnt and what God's taught us, we're going to do a craft today. You'll find on the Kids tab these commandments that I've printed out. You'll be able to download them and print them out yourself. And what we're going to do is we're going to staple them together to make our own chain that we can bind on our foreheads or on our hands or probably put around our necks to help us to remember what God has commanded us to do. So we're going to staple them together. Now, what you might have noticed is that I printed out the commandments that we saw up there, but on the other side of the commandments is just a single word. And the reason that I have done that is so that when you put the chain together, it reminds us of the main commandments. See, on the inside I've got the 10 commandments that God gave us, but on the outside we've got love the Lord first and love, it's a bit tricky, love others like yourself. So we've got love the Lord first and love others like yourself with the commandments on the inside. And you can turn this into a necklace or a headband or maybe a bracelet. I think it looked cool in all sorts of different ways, and maybe you could gift it to someone and tell them about what we've learned today. I wonder this week how you can remember to love others and to love the Lord first. I'm going to pray that God will help us to do that this week. Dear God, thank you that you love us so much that you gave us Jesus. Help us to be obedient by loving you and loving others.